Good morning. My name is Matthew Hood and I am your Child Tier 4 teacher. It has come to my attention that some parents are concerned that I am teaching both the morphology and etymology of words with regards to the course content to my students. I am here today to ease concerns and assure all parents that teaching both morphology and etymology is time well spent in a classroom. As a starting point, what is morphology and why is it important? Morphology is the study of the internal structure of words and of the rules by which words are formed. The study looks at the structure of words including roots, suffixes, and prefixes. Through teaching students how words are built, your children will be able to develop strategies for decoding and understanding unfamiliar words. This will help ensure that each student will have a deeper understanding of literacy, which will lead to a greater reading comprehension and spelling accuracy. One basic example of morphology in action is understanding the prefix un means not. This would give them insight into what words such as unhappy or uncertain mean without the need to memorize each separately. Understanding morphemes will continue to remain relevant for students as they develop. They will continue learning new words as language develops, which are often created by blending two morphemes together, such as online or download. Moving on, let me explain the importance of studying etymology of words and how it can assist students. Etymology is the study of word histories. The study explores where words originate from and assisting students in seeking patterns in language. This will lead to a deepening of their vocabulary and better understanding of the meaning of words. For the English language, the words often originate from Latin, Greek, or Old English. An example of etymology in practice can be observed in students who understand the term tele, meaning distance. The students would then be able to make connections between the words such as telephone, television, or telegram, expanding their knowledge beyond memorization. Teaching morphology and etymology to your children will enhance their vocabulary, reading comprehension, and improve their spelling while building the ability to connect ideas. Understanding the two studies builds connections to the history of words and the role they play in our culture. While the applications of learning morphology and etymology are easily integrated into the subject areas, such as spelling, grammar, or literacy, I find it's also an effective tool in conveying material in a wider subject areas, such as mathematics and history, etc. Every teacher teaches language in some way, as reading, writing, speaking, and listening strategies are necessary for a student cut across multiple disciplines. For these reasons, I use morphology and etymology as tools to create stronger readers, higher order thinkers, and more skilled problem solvers across all of my teaching endeavors. Morphology in particular is very important for the interpretation of language. Through the understanding of morphemes, students can break down unfamiliar words while improving their reading, spelling, and vocabulary development. Incorporating morphemes into lessons empowers the students with the tools to become stronger, more confident learners. For my students, when looking at unfamiliar words or concepts, we'll often break them down words into a type of word surgery. In this process, I would introduce a new unfamiliar word, for example, the word persuasive, and work together to dissect it into its morphemes. After dissecting, we analyze the parts of the words to find meanings of the whole word. Finally, I would then have students explain what the word means by analyzing its parts. In this example, we were looking at a persuasive text and their purpose. To explain what a persuasive text was, I broke the word down into its morphemes. Discussing what the parts mean, when broken down, it forms into three morphemes: per, sway, sive. I then explains per means to do something. We then discuss what does sway mean. The classroom concluded that it means to convince. Finally, I explained if is often used to transform nouns or verbs into adjectives. When combining the parts, we learned that persuasive text is a text that is able to convince another. It is vital to understand what a morpheme is and how it is able to break down in our language. It allows for greater understanding of the words through interpretation without the need to memorize. I often integrate morphology into my classes for these reasons. Etymology is another tool that works alongside morphology. To improve learning outcomes, I often find it to be an effective tool to ensure students are able to fully grasp concepts in our classrooms. For example, I remember using etymology in a lesson where we looked at the writing technique alliteration. My intention was for the students to identify patterns in writing. To give context to the word, I broke it up into 3 morphemes or parts: alliterate, shon. I explained that alliteration comes from the Latin word alliterare, meaning to letter, al meaning to, and litterare meaning letter. By understanding the word origins and meanings of the root words, students are able to infer meanings from the words sharing the same root, including words such as literally or literature. The teaching etymology of alliterations allows me to ensure students recognize the literary technique, giving them a more concrete understanding of the concept. Another example that students committed to memory was the etymology of hyperbole. Hyperbole is made up of 2 morphemes, or parts, hyper and bole. Hyperbole originates from the Greek word meaning beyond, or mboli, referring to a throwing, casting, the stroke of a missile, bolt, or beam, which comes from the term bol, meaning to throw. When combined, the term describes throwing over or beyond. This throwing action is used by students to remember the purpose of the technique. Recalling the meaning to throw something beyond what should be expected allowed students to understand that hyperbole is an exaggeration. This created a link between the exaggeration found in the origins of hyperbole and the exaggerations found in any readings they interpret. Later, it might also help them interpret words that include bol or hyper. Finally, etymology can be used in many ways in alternative subjects like mathematics. In maths, I use etymology to create connections with new or existing ideas. For example, teaching the etymology of centimeter can help assist students convert between different units of measurements. Understanding the relationship between meter and centimeter can help with the learning process. For example, centimeter is made up of 2 morphemes, centi and meter. The term centi comes from the Latin word centrum, meaning 100, and meter comes from the Latin term metrum, which comes from the Greek word for measure, metron. Students who understand this are able to make greater connections between millimeter, meter, and kilometer. Through the understanding of centi, students will be able to be better suited to perform conversions between units due to the understanding that meter consists of 100 centimeters. From my discussion and hopeful insights, I restate that morphology and etymology is essential when teaching. It is evident that studies strengthen students' learning and comprehension. By integrating the morphology and etymology into our classroom, we'll be better able to help students understand and analyze our language. Additionally, these studies will help students see how language is used in our history and culture, while also building a curiosity promoting learning. Thank you for listening, and I hope I've been able to ease your concerns and answer some of your questions regarding the use of morphology and etymology in the classroom.